Hello, friends, and welcome to yet another interview with my friend Tomei Schnitzius. This time discussing a very interesting question. Um, do we really have infinite possibilities? That is, when we go to this zero point that is within us that we have been describing in previous segments, and suddenly things totally open to, yeah, the infinite or not. Um, how do you account for that? Is it truly infinite, or is that just an expression um, of meaning lots and lots of? So Tomei, maybe the higher universe has a set of infinite answers for you to offer about
We're
that
gonna be
question.
we are gonna be here a long time.
Oh, that's true. It's true.
Because we're gonna search out every solution to every situation that can ever happen. Um, so is there infinite possibilities? Without question. Even science is kind of, and I'm not really gonna get into the science part of it, because I'm not really a scientist, but when they finally discovered the quantum field, then they've realized that um, everything has already been created, manifested. Everything in the quantum field and the field itself is already a possibility. Um, and they also found out through, can't remember exactly what experiment it was, but that particles were being um, felt on what to do. So if a particle was in a, a volume of some kind of space that was contained by the experiment with intention, the particle can be moved. And when another particle is moved, I think it was like they had two photons or protons in one jar, um, or in two separate jars, and when one photon moved, the other photon moved too. So there is this interconnectedness between all things. Um, and so kind of proving once again that there's kind of a unified field out there, and consciousness is a field where everything is connected to everything. And when one part of the field feels something, the other part of the field feels it too, or the whole field feels it, in whatever capacity that is. So there is infinite possibilities because there's infinity. There's an infinite vortex out there, an infinite container. Maybe a container would say it's not infinite, but I'm trying to come up with the right words quantumly to give a feeling for this. And what's interesting is that the mystery schools, which I talk about quite a bit, understood that. They understood that if they were to place an emotion or a feeling on something, they could manifest something. And they could manifest it by taking it from the field. They could manifest it by taking it from consciousness. Um, and um, there's a there's quite a deep understanding and knowing that it's through the heart space where this all takes place. For me to connect to all things, I must again release the anything that I have that's covering up my sacred space of the heart, that space that connects me to all things. If I've covered it up with ego, if I've covered it up with strategy, judgment, um, then I'm not giving myself a chance to connect with all things because judgment is more important than being with something. And that's the work. We've talked about this almost every single time we do a podcast in a way, that the work is so vital. And the mystery schools knew all this, and they had various processes and concepts and aspects to assist others to find that place within themselves, and then to assist uh, any initiate that would come in to give them uh, the understanding and the knowing of the tools that they hold within themselves in their heart space. And so this has been going on for thousands of years. This isn't a new concept that new agey people just came up with. This actually has been around for a long, long time. Long, long time. Even before Atlantis, it's been around for a long time. Now, something that might kind of um, as the phrase goes, blows your mind. Something that might blow your mind here a little bit. And I've actually talked about this in some of my workshops, so Bill might have heard this before. That there is infinite possibilities in in the matrix, in the field, in consciousness. And all those possibilities that happened already, that are happening in the present moment, and will happen in the future are already there. Everything is already done. It's already there. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. It just means it's already there. And it's if you wanted to go into consciousness, and there's a name for this, so I'm going to give a name to it. Um, I should say I don't like using the word I, to be honest with you, because a lot of this information that comes through me is through my guides and the higher beings, if you will, and those that are around me. I just am a vessel. So every time I'm going to say I'm going to maybe take it back. So that's why I don't like saying that. But because I'm the vessel, you're hearing it from supposedly from me, but it really isn't. You're hearing it from the infinite consciousness that's out there, the beings that are in it. So there's a name for this, and it's called cosmic heart consciousness. So it's more of a quantum heart consciousness. What we've been talking about for a long time is your heart space, right? We've been talking about our individual souls, if you will. It's almost like we are treating ourselves as separate selves in a way. That each one of our souls is unique unto itself. So because we're in this specific body that I'm speaking through right now, the way I look, the way I talk, the way I grow, and so on, seems to separate me from other things. And somebody would say, yeah, there's nobody like you on the planet. Some people be very happy about that. So um, there is the aspect that there really isn't two of us or three of us or anything like that. And sometimes we do. We run across people in the airport. We would swear it's the person that we know, and they look identical to the person, but it isn't the person. It's kind of funny sometimes when that happens for us. But anyway, we kind of do, because we're in this duality state, we kind of look at ourselves as separate in some respect. And so we talk about our heart spaces unique unto ourselves. Each person has a unique heart space and a way of exploring that and a way of experiencing that and a way of manifesting things in other ways and so on. And I'm going to suggest that the reason that is because when source, again, it's hard to come up with a word for, say, God or source or the all. I like the all better. I guess that would be the way of saying it. The all is experiencing itself through each one of us in unique ways. And it's connected to all consciousness. So when you choose something, nobody else is choosing that. And you would say, well, somebody just chose to eat a hamburger too. Yeah, but not the way you chose it. You chose it from a different place than they did. And you wouldn't know it because, of course, we all stand in line, we all get hamburgers. So everybody's choosing to have a hamburger. But if you were to ask people why they're choosing it, someone would say, well, I don't know. Why are you asking? And some other people would say, because I'm hungry. Okay. Other people say, because I love hamburgers and I just had to have one. Some people say, well, the hamburgers are here better than the hamburgers down the street. I mean, there would be multitude of different reasons per se that somebody is doing the same choice that you're doing. And I would even go to say that as soon as you get your hamburger and eat it, you're going to taste it and feel it and experience it different than they do. So just because you made the same choice doesn't mean it's not cosmic, it's not quantum. So I'm going a little bit farther out, from ourselves to say, okay, you have this cosmic heart consciousness. And it kind of sounds like there's a heart in consciousness, like there's a heart space that's just in consciousness. And I would say to you, that's not a bad way of looking at it, possibly, but to say that the energy that is out there in this consciousness is pure. And because it's pure, we've talked about pure duality. Because it's pure, it holds all things, all infinite possibilities that could ever happen, that have already happened, and are happening in this moment. Now, what's interesting about this, and they taught this in the mystery schools as well, is that when I make a choice, and I'm pulling that choice out of infinite possibilities, the cosmic heart consciousness doesn't know what I'm going to choose. Because they don't know what I'm going to choose, and I'm using they as a word, because say it maybe, or the heart doesn't know what I'm going to choose, because it would never judge me either way. It just is waiting for me to say act, to choose something. If let's just say I make a really weird choice, like I'm going to run around naked today. And they're like, oh my God, he's going to run around naked. What are we going to do? And all of a sudden, the universe now has to change everything it was going to do before because I've made a choice that they just couldn't expect. And so they're trying to find balance in the crazy thing that I'm about to do. And they make all these different adjustments and say, I was just kidding. Now I have to go change it again because but it's not like they're little worker bees or something like that. They're having to go around the heart cosmic heart consciousness and start changing everything for everybody. But there is this connection, there is this unified field, there is this openness and infinite possibilities that are out there. And every time you make a choice on your journey, it changes it all. Because when you make that choice, you now have changed an outcome. And that's really hard for our minds to wrap around. Because we don't know what the outcome is, but the universe does. Consciousness does. It knows your feelings, it knows your thoughts, it knows your manifestation, knows everything that you're feeling inside, and you're making a choice, and they almost know what the outcome is going to be unless you make a different choice right away. Because if you do that, then the outcome is going to change instantaneously. That's how quick. It's just boom, it's just like that. Today, I was really tired. All that energy coming in. Some of you guys out there are probably really exhausted because there's all this energy coming in from the galactic core. We're getting solar flares. It's all this kind of stuff. So I'm really tired. So I'm pushing myself to run every morning because I'm having surgery pretty soon. So I want to make sure I'm in the best possible place to have PT and recover from it as strong as I can. I'm out there running, not expecting to do a podcast tonight. And whammo, I get this hit. It's kind of like my hits are, I would I put another word to downloads. You guys have heard that, I'm sure many of you before. I get this downloads. We're going to talk about instantaneous, infinite possibilities tonight. Like, oh my God. And I'm already rearranging my whole day. They don't even have to do it for me.
And you had to ask permission from me to be able to do it. So
to do
I
it.
could have said no.
Yeah. And so there's all these things you can see. Okay, I'm gonna I'm going to call Bill or I'm going to send him a text, say, hey, I just got another subject. Let's go do it. And he said, well, what time and when? And so now it's like, I don't know. I've got to go back and see my schedule. So there's all these domino effects that happen all over the place. And who knows? Maybe I could have got a car accident on the way home and I wouldn't have been able to do it. I don't know. It's just that once you make a choice and things get set in motion, infinite, I want to keep using that cosmic heart consciousness is there to assist you with no judgment in the choice you just made, to experience what it is you wish to experience. And that doesn't mean you're going to fully experience it in the moment. For instance, this podcast was being put together to come at a later time in our linear time frame. A lot of things could have happened in between. That doesn't mean it wouldn't have happened, but I would show up differently, for instance, than I am right now. I might have wore a different shirt. I might not have wore blue. I might have wore pink, and Bill would have been feeling guilty because he doesn't have a pink shirt. Um, it's just there's so many things that can happen, and that's the whole point of this, is that the possibilities are endless. But when we've kind of manifested something that doesn't necessarily have for sure an outcome, because this podcast didn't have a for sure. In fact, we didn't even know we still were going to do this till probably about what, Bill, maybe 2 or 3 hours ago.
Yes,
Right?
that's right.
Yeah. Because then Bill came back to me later and says in posts, well, how about tomorrow night? And I was like, well, I got 3 sessions tomorrow. I'll be toast. So I don't know that I'd be as present as I am right now. And so Bill's like, okay, fine, let's just do it then. And that was that. So there was another choice that was thrown into cosmic heart consciousness to see how's that going to play out. Is Bill going to have to rearrange his schedule now? So it's like all these other things happen and we don't realize, the ramifications of the choices that we make, whether they be simple. I'm going to get up 5 minutes early tomorrow morning and go run instead of getting up 5 minutes later, which means because I'm getting 5 minutes up earlier, I am going to run into the moose. If I go 5 minutes later, I won't run into the moose. I don't know that. But there's this wave of cosmic heart consciousness that goes out there and wants to support us without judgment in the experiences we're going to have based upon the choices we're making. Now, I'm going to come back to that again, the choice part, because remember, in past podcasts, we've talked about the 4 aspects: the awareness, the choice, feeling, experiencing, letting go. So even though I'm making a choice and things have to be rearranged and so on, I still have to act on that choice. I still have to experience that choice. Otherwise, it's just a choice. It just sits there. Nothing happens. No energy gets moved. Cosmic heart consciousness is trying to rearrange things, and I'm not doing anything. Are you got to do this? Are you going to do? Come on, let's go. You said you wanted to do this, and so the arena out here, the field is like, come on, why are you waiting so long? Let's get this done. There's this kind of little bit of an energetic push because they love you so much. They want you to have the experience that you were feeling inside when you made the choice. Because the choice came from your heart, hopefully. And as it comes from your heart space, then there's a feeling or emotion attached to it. And you're not attaching emotion that has to happen. It's just you're having this feeling of like, wow, I haven't ridden a bike in a long time. And I remember how much fun I had with that. And you're feeling that joy of riding the bike. Like, oh, I don't have a bike right now. Well, all of a sudden the neighbor comes up riding a bike and says, hey, how you doing? I don't know, I'm doing great. Is that your bike? Yeah, you want to try it? I mean, there's this wave of energy that went out to consciousness and said, this guy wants to have some joy. Let's make it happen. And so somehow they make it happen. And we're not attached to the outcome. We don't have to have it in that moment, but somehow it could be years from now. It could be the next day. It could be next month. It could be the next 5 minutes. the feeling that you're having in that moment is the feeling you're looking for. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the bike, but the joy that you had about riding the bike is what you're really looking for in your heart, per se. And it's in the field. But the way you feel that joy is unique unto you. It's unique unto your soul. It's unique unto your heart. But it's out there. It's still out there. And so the universe is like, okay, let's go. Let's let this happen. How can we make this happen? Well, it just does. Then all of a sudden, you're walking to the store and you slip on the ice and somebody sees it and they come over and they help you up and they ask if you're okay and you look up at their eyes and you're like, wow, thank you for being here, you know, and you have this sense of connection and joy. And it's the same joy you were trying to feel before that was in your heart that you wanted to feel once again. And here's the moment that it happens. And we don't see the future. We don't know what's coming. And that's a beautiful thing, I believe, because then when it gets verified, I like to say it gets verified for us, you know, the feelings that we have, the situations that we wish to create. And we're looking also for verification to say, is it okay? Is it not harmful? You know, we go to our hearts and we want to manifest something and we want to do it for the best of all, which is something we talked about in the last video. Um, are we touching into that cosmic heart possibility so that we aren't going to harm anybody? We still can manifest that feeling that we're looking for, whether it be with the person, situation, or whatever. So as soon as you make a choice, you're already shifting cosmic heart consciousness, and you don't know, because most of the choices we make are pretty pragmatic every day. We don't look at them as being kind of earth-shattering type choices, you know. You know, I'm going to get up from bed 5 minutes early, like I said, and that's just what you're going to do. You don't see it as anything earth-shattering. Yet later on, when I'm running and I run into the moose, and I know that if I hadn't gotten up 5 minutes early, I wouldn't have seen it. I see that is the opportunity that the universe and cosmic heart consciousness is providing me to connect. So there are other possibilities that happen out there that we don't know are coming. This is why they say that there's nothing wrong with anything. Everything is just perfect. Because in the moments, in seconds, in a moment's notice, the opposite can be manifested through consciousness and it's not judged the other way, either one. That one was bad and one was good. It's not judged that way at all. There's no judgment out there. It's all experiential. We've talked about pure duality before. So somebody once asked me, is there duality outside of their dimensional realm? And I said, no. And they said, no, I thought there was. And it's not the way you're asking. They're asking if there's a good and a bad, if there's, you know, a separation. And I said, no, there's not. There's a duality, but everything is accepted for what it is. There is no judgment on anything. And boy, that is really hard for us to wrap around. We just can't see it that way. Because there's got to be one thing that's good and one thing that's bad. Like, no, everything is fine just the way it is. So when we make choices, you might say, now you might want to kind of become more conscious of the choices you're making, even the little ones. How is that going to play out for you? Do you really want what the choices that you're making? Do I really want to choose to be enraged right now? Because you're choosing it. Some people say, well, no, it's my program. I'm sorry, you already know you have a program. So you can't get away with just saying, well, no, it's my program and I didn't know what I was doing. No, you chose to be enraged. Is that really what you want to do? Because that's what you're sending out to everything. Because that's based in ego, that enragement to judge something so harshly. That's a choice. And as I make that choice, I'm sending it out into unified field. Unified field can soak it up really quick, obviously, because they just see it as another choice, and they're not judging it at all. But while you're down here and you see yourself as separate, then that's what you're doing. You're creating and manifesting the separation energetic feeling that you can attach yourself to because you have to be right. And so that's tough. That's what's going on in the world right now. We can change this world really quickly if we finally would own up to the choices we're making, take responsibility and ownership for who we are truly. It's too easy to do that, which is funny because most people say, man, that's really hard to do. Well, it's hard to do because you let yourself be controlled by what's outside of you. If you didn't get yourself controlled by what's outside of you, it's really to just say, no, I don't have to choose that. I can choose something else. But they're telling you to choose it. Doesn't matter. I don't care. I don't need to listen to them. I want to listen to my heart. I want to listen to other things. And of course, we're not perfect. I get it. We're not perfect. Nobody is. And so we do stray, let's just say. We do become unconscious of sometimes of making the choices that we make. But within this cosmic, I love this phrase. I love cosmic heart consciousness. It's so beautiful. Um, it's just not cosmic consciousness. When you say cosmic heart consciousness, like, oh wow, there's a real connection there. I'm not saying there's not a connection with cosmic consciousness, but when you throw the heart in there, and it has this energetic feeling of welcoming and compassion and non-judgment and so on, why wouldn't you want to experience that? Why wouldn't you want to explore that? When any master that came out of any of these mystery schools mastered themselves, this is how they were. They could change energy just like that with a moment's notice, because they always knew in cosmic consciousness and in the heart consciousness that the opposite is always available. Always. And all I have to do is call on it. All they have to do is choose it. And they could choose it instantaneously. They wouldn't use it against anybody or anything. They're doing it for themselves internally so they can be in that state of non-judgment. So they see clearly what's going on in front of them, how they can serve somebody. We've talked about serving humanity in the last couple of videos, right? You guys have watched any of that. Well, imagine if in a moment's notice I could meet somebody where they're at and serve them truly in their heart, because I can feel and sense the energies that are coming from them. And I can pull out a cosmic heart consciousness, a feeling that would serve them without harming them. And I'm not trying to change them. They'd still have to choose that to become it or to let it in. But the point is, if I have that capacity, then I'm walking around constantly on my journey without harming anything. I'm just being with. What a beautiful place to be. So we have that capacity within us. What they would tell any initiate that came into the mystery school is that you have all the gifts and tools you could ever ask for. They're already sitting there waiting for you. Always. And I would say that to all of you. Whoever's listening, everybody has it. There's nobody that doesn't. The meanest, and maybe some people call the most evil, which I don't buy into. I don't buy into evil. Um, Individuals out there, individual personalities and souls, have it within them too. They're just choosing the path they're leading for whatever reason. I don't know. It's not up to me to know. But that's what they're choosing. But I don't have to feed off of them. I can choose to. That's a choice. That's an infinite possibility. But if it's creating harm, it's not the best for all, then I'm not going to choose it. No matter what they want to give me, it's just not going to happen. I don't want to harm another person or situation. That's not what I'm here for. And I would suggest that's not why you're here. So we have this incredible gift that's available to us all the time, even through our sleep. And we're connected to our dream state, and we're going to the astral realm. there's also infinite possibilities in the dreams that we have of working through things, of learning and growing and being taught in those dreams. Sometimes you can remember some of those dreams. Sometimes they're very fleeting. They're very hard to understand. But I would suggest you're learning something in those dreams because there's no ego in those dreams. You're in a different state. You're in a different dimension. You're still connected here, but you're off in another place. So they're able, let's just say the beings out there are able to work with you in ways that they can't work with you when you're sitting in this dualistic state. It makes it a little bit difficult, more difficult for them to show you some of the choices that you can have and experience those things for yourself. But a dream state's a little bit different. Um, I think in some respect, I guess what I could um, compare this cosmic heart consciousness to would be the Akashic records. So some of you have heard that before. So the Akashic records supposedly about are have everything that's ever been written about any human being, anybody that's ever written has lived here in the past or in the future or not. Greg Braden, again, you've heard that name quite a bit, has a wonderful YouTube on the Torah and the studying of the Torah since the 70s, 1970s and forward. And if you can find it on YouTube, I would suggest you listen to it because what he's going to show you, in whatever way this is the Torah, which is kind of the Old Testament of the Bible, um, has some incredibly unique features. And in the Torah, if you understand the scientific methods that come out of the Torah and come out of the New Test or the Old Testament, everybody's name's in the Torah. You'd be like, what? My name's in there? Yeah, your name's in there. All you have to do is put in the equation that the scientists have come up with, the algorithms they've come up with of how to read the Torah really. It's fantastic. It's crazy what you can come up with. It's almost been used as a way of looking at history because a lot of the great events of history are in the Torah as well, like the atom bomb in Japan, um, the assassination of Yitzhak Rabin, many things. Even President Obama's in there, but your name's in there too. And it's an amazing piece of literature, I guess you would call it, but it's not a piece of literature. It is part of the cosmic heart consciousness. And we can tap into that too. But you have to have a lot of trust and faith in what you're hearing and what you're sensing. We've talked about that again, about trusting your inner voice, your intuition, the ability to have pure intent with understanding some of the verifications that you're getting, to not look at yourself as some kind of God or something because of the knowledge that you have now or the wisdom, but be able to share it and use it in a way to assist other people to help them find their own hearts, which is kind of what Bill and I are all about and what Spirit Partners really is all about. Is just to assist people to find themselves, to remind them who they are. There's a remembering. Yeshua came down. He didn't come down to have you form a church. It's not why he came here. He didn't come down here to fight the Romans. He didn't come down here to go to battle. He came down here to share with you and remind you that the gifts that you have are more than he had because he didn't have as much time as you do to investigate your heart space. He only had 33 years. And most of it was more towards the end of that 33 years. And we're given how many years? According to these scenes, your body is supposed to live like for 600 to 1,000 years. That's a lot of Social Security, guys. It's a lot of Medicare, man. I can see why these guys are freaking out. Nothing's going to be left if any of us live that long.
They don't want people to be conscious. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. It wasn't want to, not to get political here, but I mean, it was funny when Trump on his speech to Congress that one night said, yeah, and there's somebody that's getting Social Security at 300 years old. And they're like, I want to know that is seen. Who is that guy? Because I believe he's alive. I don't think it's wrong. I think he really is here somewhere. He just wants to be known. Um, yeah. So we know from some past understandings and knowledge that is out there. You can go find it for yourself. I'm not telling you gotta believe me. Um, I've done the research. I've done a lot of work, obviously. Otherwise, I would be able to speak to you guys the way I do. Um, and I'm not using it against you or telling you have to believe anything or anything. I'm just telling you that the Essene community in Atlantis, you could live as long as you wanted to. Some of these archaeology sites are starting to come up with the beings that have been talked about before that have been here for like thousands of years. What's the king? There's a list of kings that was found in Samaria. Uh, and that list shows the kings that have been down here up to some of the last kings that we recorded on this tablet. And some of them lived for thousands of years. Well, if we believe the one at the end was alive because we did have information on that, and even the one before that, then why would we think that all the other ones that are before that weren't here if these other guys are on there? Did somebody just come up with it? So our bodies actually can be refreshed, rebirthed. The cell structure, as again Bruce Lipton and Greg Braden talk about so much about the telomeres and the telomerase that's in the DNA strands, that what knocks those telomeres down and chips them off to where the cell finally dies is stress. Imagine that. Take stress out of your life, all of a sudden the telomerase is continually refurbishing the telomere that's on the DNA strand, which means the cell never dies. It never dies. It just keeps going. Imagine that. That if we could get rid of stress in some respect, which means we change our lives and the way we look at life, bring more balance and more neutrality into your life, less judgment, more being with, how long you might live. There's books out there. We've given you guys a lot of these books. The Anna book, Anna, Grandmother of Jesus. Read that book. The Essene community, some of these people were, Anna lived 600 years. You can say, well, that's not true. That's somebody just came up with that. Well, okay, but you can say that if you want, but they did. They lived a long time. So why is it that we can't? Well, we see the stresses we put on ourselves, and it's not necessarily just emotional stress, but that's probably the number one stress is the emotional stress. But stresses on our physical body by, you know, eating high fructose corn syrup in almost everything that's in our diet these days, which we cannot burn away in our body. It just keeps accumulating. And then you wonder why your midsection is so big. Stop eating it. Start getting your glasses out if you're like me and you can't read. And you look at the packaging. Does it have high fructose corn syrup in it? Put it down and don't buy it. It doesn't give you anything, nourishment at all. It just sweetens everything. So there's one stress that you can put on your physical body, but take it away by just making choices. Doesn't mean you can't have some of the things you wish to have. You just don't have the high fructose corn syrup in them. So a lot of the processed foods that we know of that are out there have that ingredient in them. Almost all processed food basically have that ingredient. If you ever check it out, you'd be shocked at some of the things that you buy. That's a stress on your physical body. It's a stress on your heart. It's a stress on your blood pressure. It's a stress that carries throughout your whole body. And it takes a lot of toxic withdrawal to release it. That's a stress in itself. If I don't want to take care of myself, why would the universe want to help me not take care of myself? It's a great question. I would say to you, what's interesting about the cosmic heart consciousness is that whatever you choose, they support you in. Anything you choose, they support you in. So if you choose to be stressed out, they're going to complement you and find a way to get you stressed out. The synchronicity will be provided, the arena will be provided. There's infinite possibilities. So they're saying this soul wants to be stressed out. So we'll assist them because we love them unconditionally. No conditions, no judgments. So guess what? You're in control of your choices, not what's outside of you. You're in control. And that scares a lot of people. But if you want to be in touch with cosmic heart consciousness, which I cannot believe for a second that if you really understand what I'm saying tonight and you look at yourself, that you wouldn't want to be in joy, it just doesn't make any sense that you wouldn't want to do that. But I know even some of you can say, well, I'll start next week. I'll do it next month. I got all this stuff coming up. I can't fit that into my schedule right now. Oh, you can't take 5 minutes to go breathe and just walk outside for 5 minutes? You can't do that. You can't lay in your bed at night before you go to sleep and close your eyes and look up at the stars and show gratitude for everything that you had for that day. You can't do that. You can't wake up in the morning and say, I hope and pray and feel that my choices today will bring my heart in place. How long did that just take me? I don't know, not even a minute to say that. I mean, you have to feel it. I get it, but it only took me 30 seconds to say it. This isn't like, okay, we're going to give you the 100-step program. And if you're really committed to yourself, damn it, you'll do it. It's the way it is. It's what we do here. We do. We function. We get it done. What's out in cosmic heart consciousness, I'm going to suggest, is simplicity. We look at the simplest way of being in the moment, not the most complicated way. The mind wants to have the most complicated way. And why would you imagine that? I would suggest you would imagine that because then that puts you above somebody else. Look, I did this more than you did that. So I got it. There's that competition thing that comes in. Cosmic heart consciousness has every possibility that can ever be found for all time. And not, I don't mean time here. In any given situation, even after we leave here, everything is there, it's available to experience. That's almost the awesomeness of source, or the all, if you want to, whatever way you want to look at it. And the masters, the beings are in it. The ability to learn about it is incredibly, thousands of books there you can find anywhere. A lot of these books were found in Nag Hammadi, the Gospels and the writings of some of the Essenes. Those mystery schools were incredible that they had created. Some of the Egyptian mystery schools. You can look at the Book of the Dead from Egyptian Book of the Dead. You can look at the Book of the Dead from um, um, Buddhism, from Tibet. You'll find there's a lot of similarities to how they see things. That we must die into ourselves if we are going to grow. The Book of the Dead, that's what it's all about. Some people think, no, it's about when somebody dies and they're gone for 40 days and all this kind of stuff. I said, yeah, that's probably a part of it. But it's also meant to walk a journey in this lifetime. That 40 days might take you just to release some of the attachments that you've created for yourself, um, that are surrounding your heart space because you can't get there. In the Tibetan Book of the Dead, they would have various evil dragons and monsters and all kinds of stuff that any soul would have to walk through before they would go to the next level. Kind of sounds like to me that's the same thing as attachments that we have in this world. You got to walk through them. You can't just say, okay, they're done. See you, bye. You have to be with them. You have to find out what you created. You have to see what you actually put together that was harmful for you and then possibly harmful for other people too, to be able to clear all that away. So, getting back to the Akashic record is very similar to the Torah in that in the Torah lists um, anything that could ever happen into the future. It's not going to tell you when. It's not going to, give you that time frame, but it's going to say there's a possibility of this happening. There's a possibility you're going to cross paths with this certain person. There's a possibility, that you could die in this car accident. There's a possibility of that, but depending upon the choices you make up to that, it might not happen. So again, what ends up happening is that we make different choices um, that change the journey in some way. We're tapping into another possibility that's in the universe. I'll be real frank with you, real frank. There's a time in my life that I almost committed suicide, and I wouldn't be talking to you right now, and I wouldn't have experienced everything I have up to this point, and I wouldn't give it up for anything. All the challenges, all the situations, all the stuff that I got to walk through, all the people that were involved in that, all the choices I made going into that caused all kinds of other things to take place. I wouldn't be living where I'm at right now if I hadn't made some of the choices that. It's amazing when you sit down. I know some of you have probably done this, to look back and see the choices you made at a certain point and just kind of shake your head like, wow, I had the opportunity to make a different choice in that moment. And if I had done that, I would not be here right now. I'd be somewhere else. I might be in a different relationship. I might wouldn't have had kids. I might, who knows? Could be any number of things. All those possibilities were out there. And when you made those choices, things started being formed and synchronicities were put together to assist you to feel the experiences that you were looking to feel without judgment. And we weren't even close to being conscious. I wasn't conscious of any of it, believe me. But as I look back on it, what I know now, I can see, wow. If you go behind the scenes in a play, on Broadway, and scene one's over, and they're behind the curtain and they're moving stuff around, they're trying to get the next thing set up and putting all that together. And if the lead actor trips and falls, the whole thing has to be changed. Something has to change. They weren't expecting it, but it's always a possibility. So sometimes we try and cover our bases, because we're like, well, you know what? But have a backup plan. The universe has infinite backup plans. We can't even comprehend how many infinite backup plans there are for each. Well, we have, Bill, I agree, 8 billion people on the planet or something like that.
Something like that, yes.
8 billion backup plans for the next moment. It's like, how does that look? I don't know. I think it probably looks like an amazing thing because they can manifest things, with energy, bang, 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 without even, batting an eye. 8 billion backup plans for each moment. That's pretty crazy. That's out there. And the more you trust and work in your heart and go inside, the more you have the opportunity to be part of that. You are part of it already. You just don't know it because you don't want to know. You're choosing something else on this third dimensional plane that's going to stop you from recognizing and realizing the truth of who you are inside. And we've talked about this in nauseum every podcast. But the gifts that are awaiting you aren't necessarily just the ones you have in your heart. The gifts are using what's in your heart and then being able to connect with cosmic heart consciousness to be able to manifest things even past anything that you could ever comprehend. Miracles happen, if you want to even call them that. This is what Yeshua taught. I'm reminding you, I'm reminding you who you are. I'm trying to help you remember your truth. If you can remember your truth, if you say mountain move, the mountain will move. But you must feel it in your heart space that that's possible. And you must feel it in your heart space and then connect that feeling to universal cosmic heart consciousness, and the mountain will move. If you really understand the words and feel the words in in the gospels, let's just say, not the ones that were recorded afterwards and that man tried to transmute and all that, that it's not, they're going to translate from the point, and we know this now, so that they can use it to control you. That's what's going on. And I'm not saying religions are evil or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying, but it's time to wake up and understand that there are documents out there that you can read that don't even come close to what they're trying to make you believe in the Bible, the King James Bible, wherever one you're reading at this point. These leaders want you to believe what they believe so they can control you. It's just like the government or anything else. Yet you hold within yourself an unfathomable energy in your heart space in connection with all things that is beyond anything you can comprehend. Well, Tomei, why are all these things happening to people then? Because that's what they're choosing. I don't know why they're choosing it. I'm not saying they're bad people or anything like that, but that was their choice. They're choosing to be killed, I guess. I don't know. I don't know their soul. I can't talk to their soul. But for some reason, they've put themselves into a situation that is going to cause that. And that's a choice they made. I don't know what their soul's looking to experience. The ones that are killing them, I don't know why they're killing them. It just doesn't make any sense to me anymore. I thought we were past all this, but no, there's more of it going on than ever before. But there's also more light on the world, so we're seeing it more. There's more individuals, there's more masters that are walking the planet now because they've done the work. And they're spreading more light. And as you spread more light, then the darkness has to come out because it has to. It's losing control. This is why they're all so nervous. They're all coming out now. They're all trying to control everything. Let them. They can't control you. They can't control your soul. They can't control your heart. They can brainwash you if you want to allow them to. They can tell you what to do if you allow them to. You don't have to buy the products you buy. Why do you buy them? Why do you buy them from the companies that, are paying off people so that they can have more control over you? Why aren't we talking to the companies to say we don't want any more high fructose corn syrup in our processed foods? I don't know. All I know is what I've said before. I'm doing everything myself internally that I can to connect with this cosmic heart consciousness as many times as I can during any given day. I can't do it perfectly, it's not possible. But I know I can do it 51% of the time. I know that. And if I can do that, then it's been a good day. Then I see clear the opportunities that are in front of us. I had a guy today, I was at the rec center, And he was sitting there and he was just struggling. He was in the locker room and he hadn't taken his stuff off yet. I'm going to say he's probably in his 70s. And he's just looking at the locker and looking down on the ground and looking at the locker. And I'm getting ready to go out and work out. And I just stop a minute and I look at him. I say, "Are you okay?" And he looked up at me. He says, "Oh, I'm having such a hard time with my hip." And I kind of smiled at him. I said, "I understand. These are our bodies. Eventually you get a little old and we start having some of the pains and so on." I said, "Do you need any help with anything?" He said, "No." He said, "I don't know if I really want to do this or not." And I said to him, "Yep, I understand that too. There's days when I don't want to be here. Yet when I come here, I finally go through it and I feel better when I leave. But you don't have to do that. You can get up and go. But it's really cool that you're here." And he looked up at me and all he said was, "Wow." He says, "Thanks for asking." And all I said to him was, "You know what? It would be so great if more people would be mindful of each other in today's world than we are." I'm never going to see that guy again, probably, because he's not a local. He's a tourist. He's here to ski. But in that moment, cosmic heart consciousness came through and we touched each other. And that's all it was. But wow, it was profound. That's all it takes. We don't have to make these monumental changes. All we have to do is be with each other and be with each other from the heart. That's all it takes. That energy went out to cosmic consciousness in that moment. Him talking to me and me talking to him in a very authentic way, just a caring way. You know what? I don't know who he voted for. I don't know what he's done in his life. I don't know if he was the worst guy in his community. I have no idea. I don't care. In that moment, all it was an opportunity to connect to cosmic heart consciousness into the infinite possibilities of connecting with somebody that I had no idea who they were. That's all it was. Everyone has that choice. We all have that choice in any given day to be awake, to be aware, to welcome whatever possibilities come to us, and then make choices that are from the heart in those possibilities. And then we're part of the all because you're conscious of it. So I'm going to take a break again. Sometimes I go on for a while, and I went on for a while here.
Yes, you've gone on for over an hour, so
Oh my gosh, you're kidding. Oh, jeez.
no,
That's
so
wild.
we might choose to do a part one and a part two, like we
Okay.
did. And the part two doesn't necessarily have to happen immediately for the two of us.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. I would like to comment about just one thing.
Sure.
I'm not sure where the term cosmic heart consciousness came from for you today.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
But what struck me is, um, quote, "it's all very logical because when we open our hearts, etc., and we do some of the inner work that we do, we are projecting, okay, our energy, our heart energy, our love energy up, okay, to quote source.
Yeah.
Well, what's awaiting us up there is one of two things. If I can make a distinction that probably shouldn't be made, one is the mind of God, and the
Mm.
other is the heart of God.
Mm-hmm.
And when we say, well, what's coming back down is this wave of love, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and we want to project that not only in our bodies, but down to the earth, that's coming from the heart. not just the quote mind, whatever the mind of God is, this infinite thing. Okay. So we could say that the mind of God has infinite knowledge.
Mhm.
Okay. And the heart of God has infinite love.
Yeah.
And it seems to me that's that's the gift that's available to us.
Yeah. And we're connected to that from the very moment that our soul comes down, because that's where a piece of, this cosmic heart consciousness, we're already a piece of it. That's who we are. We're part of the all too. So um, as you're kind of explaining that, what comes to me again is what Yeshua talked about so much on his journey, about the remembrance that, know your truth, know who you really are, um, and to be that truth and become that truth. Um, and once we open our hearts to that, then, it's just like I kind of maybe opened up here in the beginning of, like, I don't like using I, because we're vessels. Once we open our hearts in a sufficient way, we become vessels of that energy. And we do speak things sometimes that we don't know where the words come from. We don't know where the feelings come from, but yet they come from cosmic heart consciousness. You could even throw in there, you're talking about divine, or the mind. I would say it's divine intelligence. So there's that concept of divine intelligence that's there, that we've talked about before. Uh, that's always available to us as well. Um, it's so hard for us to comprehend all this stuff, because it's so massive. It's just so massive. Um, and and so a lot of people, I would suggest, turn away from it because it is so massive, and it's sometimes hard to comprehend. But if I can just break it down, and the simplicity of it is just allow yourself to open up your heart, and it'll all happen in its own way. Um, Again, the mystery schools and all these other teachers and the Senate masters and all that stuff, they have all these books and all these things to do, and Alice Bailey and Blavatsky and so on and so forth. And there's just so much out there of pathways to go and understandings to know and belief systems and da 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 da. And yet the simplicity of it all is, today, were you in your head more, or were you in your heart? Which one? Because if in your heart, then there's a good possibility you experience things today, even if it's just 51%. If in your mind, then you're probably lost in things today. They probably overcame you, they drove you, instead of your just being in your heart. That's the simplicity of the journey. That doesn't mean, again, it's easy, but it's simple. It doesn't have to be really complex. When we talk about these things, we talk about cosmic heart consciousness or infinite possibility, can tend to make us really look at the things and go, well, this is really hard to be with. And it's understandable from that conception. Yet there's a simplicity to it. And the simplicity, as Bill just says, love. Love is an energy, it's not a definition. It's not what they tell you in the books. It's not what you learn in your religion. It's not um, what the government says you're supposed to do, for instance, or even what your friends say. Love is an energy, it's a feeling, and it's a unique feeling you have. And that unique feeling that you have must first come from your own heart for yourself. You're not going to find it outside of yourself. You're not. No matter what relationship you're in, what you're feeling from that relationship is the connection that you're having with another soul who is projecting an energy that they feel is love. But that's their energy, that's their projection. It doesn't mean it's not going to match up with you. That's not what I'm saying. But until you find your own unique way of loving yourself, it's going to be hard for you to say to somebody, I wish you would love me. they can't love you because you don't love you. When you love you, then people, you're open. Your heart is open. When you're loving yourself authentically with the energy, with the vibration and the frequency of that love, now you're open and people can feel that. And you're open in the specific way, a special way, unique way that your soul is opening up with your heart. There's a light inside you that's come on and they can feel it and they want to be around it, which means they want to love you because they see that you love you and they want to love you in the way you love you. And so it's like then the connection is made. And then you feel the other person's love and you feel them loving themselves. And you're like, wow, this is really cool. I've never loved anybody like this before. It's beautiful. There's no needs, there's no wants, there's no judgments of how everything's supposed to look and how everything's supposed to be. It's just like, let's just be together. Let's just be in the moment. Do you want to go to a movie? Yeah, let's just go to the movie. What kind of movie you see? I don't know. What do you want to see? It doesn't matter. There's no specific judgment. I mean, eventually somebody has to choose something. Otherwise, you never get to the movie or you never get to dinner. I mean, we just sit around and say, no, you choose, no, you choose, no, you choose. It's like, okay, everybody's being too nice. Eventually, you do have to make a choice, but there seems to be more of a connection of what those choices would feel like as opposed to what they have to look like. And that changes everything. So,
Well, thank you for this profound session. Once
yeah.
again, okay, I'm going to say, um,
I know.
yes,
Who knows what we're going to talk about?
out of the universe of infinite possibilities
Yeah.
came a concept called cosmic heart consciousness that is huge, just absolutely huge as a concept that helps to explain vast amounts of all this work that we're doing.
Yeah.
Because I can assure you, audience, that in the work of all of our other spirit partners, they are all in significant ways, not using the words, but absolutely connecting with and asking us to connect with this thing called cosmic heart consciousness. And yeah, you put into words why I created this initiative, Tomei.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That you're welcome. I'm not going to take credit for that because it is from the mystery schools.
Okay.
So it came from thousands and thousands of years of work.
Well, when you were back there thousands and thousands of years ago,
Don't tell them that. Now they're all going to want to live for 1,000 years.
and picked that concept up to share with us today, you made a choice, and what an incredible one it was.
Thanks. Thank
Absolutely.
you. Yeah.
Audience, thank you for hanging in with us. This has been mind-boggling and heart-boggling for me. Once again, I've made some notes, and I think I have a topic
Yeah.
for a next discussion. I'm not going to reveal it. It's a secret. But yeah, this really opened up some fascinating things for me that I can relate very directly to in my life and choices I have made and choices I have yet to make. And it's some of those choices I have yet to make around revelations that this evoked that, yeah, boy, I'm going to be processing some things between now and then, whenever the then occurs for us.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining us. We'll be back, guaranteed. And Tomei, thank you once
You're
again.
welcome.
Okay.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you soon.
All righty. See you later.